Russia's Ethnic Mosaic: How Peoples, Languages, and Beliefs Shape Identity. Azlan Adnan, M.A. How to read this book. This book is organized into 6 chapters, each designed to build on the previous one. Chapter 1 begins with origins. It explores how identities were formed before the modern Russian state existed, and how the earliest layers of Slavic, Turkic, Mongol, Finnic, Arctic, and Caucasus worlds created the foundation of today's diversity. Chapter 2 focuses on the state's mirror: censuses, borders, and control. It shows how modern identity categories were built, manipulated, and enforced, especially under Soviet rule, and why demographic numbers in Russia are never purely demographic. Chapter 3 enters the language labyrinth. It explores scripts, dialects, official languages, and the politics of schooling. It explains why language is both a cultural inheritance and a political battlefield. Chapter 4 examines faith lines. It traces Orthodoxy, Islam, Buddhism, shaman traditions, and Jewish life, and shows how belief systems shape identity and political loyalty. Chapter 5 turns to power and the periphery. It explains how the Federation works in practice, how deals are made, how oil money and patronage maintain loyalty, and why some regions remain quiet while others erupt. Chapter 6 looks forward. It explores youth culture, migration, the Far East's hybrid identity, and the looming impact of AI-driven identity systems. It asks whether the Russian state can maintain cohesion without either suppressing diversity or losing control. Each chapter is written to stand alone, but together they form a single argument. Russia's identity is not one story. It is many stories held together by a state that has always feared the consequences of its own diversity. This is not merely a cultural book. It is a political book, because identity in Russia is inseparable from power. It is a historical book, because the past remains alive in the present. It is also a strategic book, because Russia's internal identity architecture shapes its external behavior. A state that sees itself as an empire behaves differently from a state that sees itself as a nation. A state that contains multiple civilizational zones will always have multiple geopolitical orientations. A state that must manage internal diversity through central control will often project control outward as well. Russia's foreign policy cannot be fully understood without understanding its internal structure. At the human level, the stakes are personal. Identity determines language survival. It determines cultural dignity. It determines whether communities feel secure or threatened. It determines whether young people see their heritage as a burden or a resource. It determines whether faith is allowed to be spiritual or forced to become political. Russia's ethnic mosaic is not only a matter of difference, it is a matter of continuity. The question this book ultimately asks is simple: can a state built from many peoples, many languages, and many beliefs survive without either flattening its diversity or breaking apart under its weight? That question is not only about Russia, it is about the future of multi-ethnic states everywhere. But in Russia, the answer will be written on the largest canvas on Earth. You may download your free copy of this ebook in EPUB format from